Okay, so we'll go over some practice problems from chapters 15 and 16. This is the problem sheet that is posted on Titanium, and after we are done with these calculations, I'll also actually post my solution to these problems on Titanium. Okay, so let's go through these one by one. You purchase 100 IBM July 120 call options, right? So what that means, you're buying 100 options, which is one contract, right? They are on IBM stock. Expiration is July, and when it says July 120 call options, what that 120 is basically the exercise price. So exercise price of this option is 120. The option premium is $5, right? So that's premium is $5 for each option, and then you hold the option until the expiration, and at expiration the IBM stock price is 123, right? So that is the stock price at expiration. ST equals 123, right? And what we are asked to compute here is the net gain or loss from this option position. Okay, net gain or loss from the option position. So first thing to actually ask here is, if this option is in the money, would you consider exercising this option at expiration? So again, a call option gives you the right to buy at the exercise price. So you have the right to buy the IBM share at 120, and then you can sell it for 123. So you will have a positive payoff, right? So payoff is remember, payoff is ST minus X if ST is greater than X, right? So payoff is ST minus X if ST is greater than X. So in this case, ST is greater than X, so payoff would be 123 minus 120, so that would be $3. This is for each option, but you also paid this premium of $5 to purchase the option. So what is your net gain? Well, $3 in payoff minus the $5 premium, so that is negative $2, right? $2 is basically your loss in this transaction. So you're going to end up losing $2 per option, or total loss of $200 for 100 options, right? So this $2, negative 2 is for each option. For your 100 options, you're going to have a loss of $200, right? So that is your net loss from this particular option position. Okay, next one, again you are purchasing call options here. So same as the first one. In this case, the exercise price of option is 125. Stock price at expiration is 123 as before. Premium on this option is again $5. So you have to again compute the net gain or loss. What is the payoff in this case? Well, again, in this case, you have to determine whether the option is in the money or out of money. Would you consider exercising this option? So you have the right to buy the share at 125. If you exercise that right, you would be buying at 125, selling at 123. You obviously don't want to do that. Payoff in this case is 0, right? You don't exercise the option. This option is basically worthless. This is out of money option. So let me write that down. Out of money option, right? At expiration, this option is worthless. You don't exercise the option, so this option just expires. You don't make anything in payoff, and you lose the entire premium, right? So net profit is your payoff minus the premium, right? So that would be negative $5 or $500 total, right? Again, you have one contract or 100 options, so total loss would be $500 in this case. All right, then let's look at the next one. Next one is for put options. So in this case, you have put options. Exercise price is 120. Premium is $5. Stock price at expiration is 123. All right, and you have to compute your net gain or loss. So first we'll again determine the payoff. This is a put option. All right, so pay attention to the wording of the question. Sometimes you are buying a call option, sometimes it's put option, sometimes you are actually buying the option, sometimes you might be writing the option or selling the option. All right, so make sure you pay attention to the details there. So this is a put option. Put option gives you the right to sell, right? You have the right to sell at 120. So it would make sense to exercise this option if you could buy the underlying stock at less than 120 and then sell it for 120, right? But in this case, the stock price at expiration is actually more than 120, right? So you don't want to buy at 123 and then sell at 120. That means this option is actually worthless. This is a put option. You have the right to sell at 120. So if you can buy it cheaper than 120, then you would want to use that right. In this case, you don't want to do that. So again, you have the right not to exercise the option, and that is what you are going to do in this case. Your payoff is 0. This option is out of money. Again, remember the payoff for put option. If ST is less than X, it's X minus ST. But if ST is greater than X for the put option, the payoff is 0. Okay, so payoff is 0, and again you lose the premium in this case. So net profit is 0 minus 5, so negative $5 or $500. Now let me also write that here. There's loss of 500. Okay, just to make sure we get it right. Loss of $500. Loss of $500 altogether, right, for 100 options. Okay, so this is also a losing position. All right, next one, you are writing a call option. So again, make sure you pay attention to the wording here. You write 100 IBM July 120 call options. You're writing the option here. You're not the buyer, you are the seller, and you have to compute the seller's net gain or loss from this option position. And as I mentioned during the lecture, the best way to do this without making any mistakes is to think from the buyer's perspective. All right, what would the buyer do in this case, and whatever is the buyer's gain is seller's loss, and vice versa. All right, so let's first write down the information. You have exercise price of 120 here. Premium is $4, and stock price at expiration is 126. All right, what would be the payoff? So again, think about what the buyer would do. Would the buyer of this, you are the writer, you're not the buyer, but would the buyer of this call option exercise this option? So buyer has the right to buy the underlying stock at 120, and then the buyer can sell it for 126. So obviously for the buyer, it would make sense to exercise the option. What would be buyer's payoff in this case? 126 minus 120. This is for the buyer. Because you are the writer, you are taking the other side of this transaction. For you, it would be the negative of that. So buyer has the right to exercise or not to exercise. You're just taking the other side of this transaction. In this instance, the buyer would choose to exercise the option. Buyer's payoff is going to be $6, but as a writer, your payoff is going to be -6, right? So that is important to keep in mind. Buyer has the right, right? Buyer can choose whether to exercise the option or not exercise the option. So payoff for the buyer can never be negative, right? So it's 0 here, it's +6 here. Because of that right, the buyer's payoff can never be negative, and therefore the writer's payoff can never be positive. The writers are in this transaction for the premium. All right, so buyer makes $6 in payoff, but buyer had to pay $4 in premium. So what would be buyer's net gain? $6 in the payoff minus the $4 in the premium that the buyer paid. Buyer is actually going to make $2 in this transaction, but again, you are the writer, so you are going to actually have a loss of $2 per option, right? So buyer in this transaction makes $2 per option, the writer loses $2 per option. Okay, or the other way to look at it is that your payoff is $6, right? -$6, right? You lost $6 in payoff, but the buyer paid you $4 in premium. So a part of that $6 or -$6 payoff is offset by the premium. So you can also do this calculation as -6 plus 4, and you get the same thing, -2. So the writer collects the premium, so that premium offsets some of the loss in this case. So -2 per option, total loss of $200 for the writer. Okay, so that would be the answer here, that this position results in a loss of $200. All right, so you can work on additional practice problems, look at some homework problems, for example. Again, the one important thing that I want to emphasize based on many mistakes that I see on the exams is anytime you're doing the calculation for the writer, it is very important that you think from the buyer's perspective what the outcome would be for the buyer, and just put a minus sign in front of that and you will get the outcome for the writer. Okay, that would be applicable for both the call options and the put options. Okay, last problem here is from chapter 16. This is about the intrinsic and the time value of the option. Okay, so in this case, you have a call option on a stock. The stock price is 50 and the option price is $6.50. Okay, and this is before expiration, right? All of these other problems you were doing the calculations right at expiration. This is at a point before expiration. Okay, the exercise price of the option is 45. So let's write down that information. Current stock price, right? So S0 is 50. Exercise price of the option is 45, and the premium currently is $6.50, and you're asked to compute the intrinsic value and time value of this option. Intrinsic value and time value of this option. Okay, so how do we define intrinsic value? Again, if you recall from our chapter 16 lecture, the first thing that you need to determine is whether the option is in the money or not, right? And when we say in the money, all we are looking at is if you were to exercise the option right away, when you're looking at these prices, would the payoff from that option be positive, right? Would the payoff from the option be positive if you were to exercise the option? So this is a call option. you have the right to buy the underlying stock at 45. So if you were to exercise the option, you would be buying the stock at 45 and then you can sell it right away at 50, and so you will have a positive payoff, right? So this option is in the money, and that payoff from immediate exercise of the option is how we uh, define the intrinsic value. So in this case, for the in the money option, the payoff from exercise of the option is $5. That is the intrinsic value. And what is the time value then? The time value is made up of these two components, right? The intrinsic, the total premium is made up of these two components, the intrinsic value and the time value. So you're paying $6.50, or the price of this option is $6.50. Out of that, $5 is the intrinsic value. So anything extra that you're paying on top of intrinsic value is the time value. Together, the sum of intrinsic and time value is the option premium, right? So in this case, the intrinsic value of the option is $5 and the time value of the option is $1.50. So let's actually work on few more of this intrinsic and time value calculations. I'll just make up some numbers here. So again, let's say you have a call option, and let me just copy and paste this here. Call option. Let's say the current stock price is 55. Let's say the exercise price of the option is 60, and let's say the option premium is $2. Okay, and again we have to do the same thing, compute the intrinsic value and time value of this option. Okay, so again, the first question to ask is this option in the money? Would the holder of this option consider exercising this option? So the buyer of this call option has the right to buy at 60, and then if you were to exercise it, the buyer would be buying at 60 and selling at 55. That would not make sense, right? So this option is out of money, and as soon as you determine that the option is out of money, immediately you can put the intrinsic value down as 0. For an out of money option, whether it is a call or a put, the intrinsic value is 0, and the entire premium is for the time value, right? So again, remember, this idea of time value is that even though the option is out of money right now, in the time that is remaining until expiration, the stock price might go higher, and it might actually end up being a profitable position. So that is why you're willing to pay this $2 for this option. Now let's do a put option. So let's say you have put option with a stock price, underlying stock price currently is 50, exercise price of the put option is 45, and your premium is $3, right? Intrinsic value in this case, so again, is this option in the money? This is a put option. Put option gives you the right to sell at 45, right? Do you have the right to sell at 45? If you were to exercise, you would be buying at 50, selling at 45. Does not make sense. This option is out of money for the put option. If the stock price is greater than exercise price, the option is out of money, right? So you have an out of money option. Again, as soon as you figure out that the option is out of money, the intrinsic value is then 0, and as before, again, your time value in this case is $3. Okay, so the entire premium is the time value. Okay, let's do one more, last one. Let's do a put option again. You have a put option. Let's keep these numbers the same. Okay, so you have put option. Stock price is currently 55. Exercise price of the option is 60, and the premium is $8 currently. Okay, this is a put option again. You have the right to sell at 60. So if you were to exercise this option, you can think of this transaction as buying at 55 and selling at 60. So that would give you a positive payoff of $5. So in this case, this put option is in the money. Immediate exercise of the put option would result in a payoff of $5. Right? So again, remember, we're talking about the payoff here, not the net profit. So what is the immediate payoff from exercising this put option? It's $5. What's the premium you're paying? $8 out of that. $5 is the intrinsic value of the option, and the time value would be then $3, right? So $5 intrinsic value, $3 time value, right? So in any time you have to compute intrinsic and time value, first determine whether the option is in the money or out of money. If it is out of money, the intrinsic value is 0, the time value equals the premium. If it is in the money, then whatever payoff you get from immediate exercise of the option, that's your intrinsic value. Whatever extra you're paying on top of intrinsic value, that is the time value of the option. So hopefully these calculations are clear to you. Again, look at the homework problems for additional practice. I will post the solution, or I actually already have the solutions to homework problems up on Titanium. If you have any questions regarding those, feel free to ask me during our Zoom sessions. All right, so that concludes our discussion from options.